All right, ready for this. Today we're going deep, deep into adventure sports. But, and here's the twist, we're not focusing on gear or training. It's all about the language of adventure.
Yeah, you got it. We're going way beyond just like basic travel phrases, you know? Think of it like we're cracking a code to connect with every thrill seeker out there.
You know, I gotta admit, when I first heard adventure sports English, I thought, really? Is that a thing? But then I started thinking about all the times I just couldn't find the words,
Yeah.
Like, how do you describe that feeling, hanging off a cliff or paddling through whitewater? There's a whole vocabulary for that, and we're going to explore it.
And it's more than just sounding cool, right? This is stuff that could actually make your adventure safer, more meaningful too.
For sure. Like, imagine understanding those complex safety instructions from a guy who doesn't speak your language.
Yeah.
Or just sharing that passion for climbing with someone you met on a trek, maybe in Nepal.
Exactly. It's like this whole new level opens up. Communication, understanding. It's pretty amazing.
So we've got some really cool source material for you today. It's got all the insider vocab phrases you can use, even those common mistakes, the ones that we've all made.
Yeah, we'll break it all down. Why it's so important, some really fun terminology, and even a chance for you to practice. See how you do with your new skills.
So first things first, why even bother? Can't we just point and grunt our way through?
Well, you could try, but trust me, knowing the lingo, it changes everything, especially when things get serious. Like, think about safety. You need clear communication when you're dealing with, well, high-risk stuff.
Makes sense. You don't want to be searching for the right word when your guide's trying to explain something important, like how to belay or what to do if there's an avalanche.
Exactly. And then there's, well, the social side. If you can talk about your passion, like, say, snowboarding with someone from Switzerland, Japan, boom, instant connection, you're speaking the same language. Literally.
Yeah, it's like finding your tribe anywhere in the world. So where do we even begin with all this vocabulary?
Well, our source material starts with the basics, like gear, all that equipment, whatever adventure you're into. But then it gets into some really cool specifics. Like in kayaking, did you know eddy means that calm spot behind a rock where you can catch your breath?
Wow, no, I didn't. I've been in an eddy, for sure, but never knew what it was called. Okay, so gear, eddy. What else?
How about traverse? That means to move sideways on a slope, like when you're climbing. Or switch back, that zigzag trail up a mountain.
Okay, those are good. But what about those words, the ones that get your heart racing, the adrenaline pumping ones that make you feel like a true adventurer?
Oh, we got those too. Free solo, climbing without any ropes, no safety gear.
Whoa. Yeah, that one will get your pulse going.
Or summit push, that final push, intense effort to reach the top.
Yeah, those are the words you want to use when you're telling your stories, making them epic. But it's not all about the thrill, right? Some terms, they're more about the science behind these sports and the safety.
Absolutely. Our source material talks about altitude. And it's not just a number. You need to understand how altitude affects you, especially in high mountains. Breathing, energy levels, even your decisions.
I've always wondered about that. When I was hiking in the Andes, I was so tired, lightheaded. Maybe that was altitude sickness.
Sounds like it could have been. And knowing how to deal with altitude sickness, that can be the difference between a successful adventure and, well, a dangerous situation.
It's not just about sounding cool then. It's about being safe, being informed.
Exactly. Adventure sports, they're all about pushing limits. But you got to do it with knowledge, and respect for the risks. So, ready to move beyond single words, let's talk phrases, the kind you can use in conversations.
I am so ready. Let's hear how to talk the talk like a real adventure.
Okay, so let's get into some phrases, yeah. Ones that will really level up your adventure talk. Our source material, it's got them broken down by, what you're trying to do. Like describing stuff, asking for advice, sharing stories, talking safety, the important things.
Yeah, that's what I like. Practical stuff. It's one thing to know a word, right? But using it, that's a whole other thing.
Exactly. So imagine this. You're telling someone about your latest mountain biking adventure. Instead of, it was hard, you could say something like, man, that trail really tested me. Steep drops, tight switchbacks, the whole deal.
Oh, I know, right? I can almost feel it, that adrenaline. But what about asking for advice? I'm always, I don't know, a little shy about that. Like, I want to sound like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I get that. But even the pros, they ask each other for tips. Instead of just, what do you think? You could say, have you climbed this route before? Any beta you could share?
Beta? Is that like insider info or something?
You got it. It's climber slang. For sharing info about a route, the best handholds, how to avoid a tricky spot.
See, I'm learning already. Okay, now what about sharing a story? Like that time I almost fell out of the raft, whitewater rafting. How do I make it, really exciting?
This is where you got to be a storyteller. Don't just tell the facts, paint a picture, right? So instead of the rapids were rough, try something like the raft was mucking like a wild horse. I was holding on for dear life, waves crashing over me the whole 9 yards.
Okay, wow. I can almost hear it. The water, it's way better than just, it was scary.
Right. And when you're talking about safety, being clear is super important. Don't just say, be careful. Say something like, make sure to check the forecast before you head out. And have a plan, just in case.
That's a good rule for any adventure, I think, big or small. But hey, we've all been there, caught up in the excitement, forget about safety. Have you ever had any, close calls or those funny language moments?
Oh, for sure. One time hiking in the Alps, I tried asking for directions to a mountain hut, but I messed up the word and I think I asked for the goat shed instead.
No way. What happened?
The guy, he just looked at me totally confused, pointed me in the wrong direction. Took me hours to find that hut. I was starving by the time I got there. But hey, I learned a new word, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, oh man, the time I was trying to sound all cool in front of some surfers.
Yeah.
Using all this slang, from those surf documentaries, I totally sounded like a cook.
We've all done it. It's part of learning. The important thing is don't be afraid to make mistakes. You gotta learn from each other.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got words, phrases, but how do we really get good at this? Like really fluent in adventure talk?
Well, our source material has some great tips on that. Things like using descriptive language, asking the right questions, sharing your own stories, and staying up to date. Because things change fast in the adventure world. Want to go through those?
Totally. Tell me everything.
So first, descriptive language. That means using imagery, making it come alive for the listener. What did you see, hear, smell, even feel? Put that in your description.
So instead of the view was beautiful, I could say something like, the sun was setting over those snowy peaks, turning the sky orange and pink. I could feel that crisp mountain air, and it was so quiet, just the wind in the trees.
Now you're talking. You took me right there to that mountaintop.
Yeah, that's the power of words, right?
Right.
Okay, what about those engaging questions? I want to be a good listener, but sometimes I'm like, what do I ask?
You just got to show you're interested, really curious about what they experience. So instead of just nodding, ask something more. Like, what was it like rappelling down that cliff? Or did you have to train, for the altitude? Or what was the hardest part of the climb?
Those are good ones. What about sharing my own stories? I'm kind of shy, but I guess it does help you connect with people.
Oh, personal stories. Those are powerful because people can see it through your eyes, Connect on a different level. So don't just say, I went skydiving. Tell them how nervous you were, that rush of free fall, the feeling when you land, the challenges, the lessons you learned.
All right, it's not about bragging. It's about the whole experience. Okay, so we got that. Descriptions, questions, stories. What about staying informed? Things change so fast. How do I keep up?
That's a good point. It shows you're serious about it, helps you have better conversations too. Read stuff, books, blogs, listen to podcasts, follow the experts online, go to events. There's tons of info out there. The more you learn, the better you can connect with other passionate people.
So basically, be a student, even when it's something fun, like adventure sports. Okay, now for the fun part. Mistakes. Our source material had some funny ones, but also so common.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. Easy to get carried away and, make a fool of yourself.
Hit me with them. I'm sure we can all relate.
Number 1, too much jargon. You want to use all those cool words you learned, but remember, gotta be clear. Don't want to confuse people.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me of when I tried impressing some climbers with all these fancy words. They looked at me like I was speaking another language.
Exactly. You got to know who you're talking to. If they're new to it, keep it simple. Explain stuff. Save the jargon for your adventure buddies.
Good advice. Okay. What else should we watch out for?
Exaggerating. Making yourself sound more experienced than you are. Seems harmless, but it can be dangerous. Overestimate yourself, and you might end up in a bad situation.
Oh, man, that's so true. When I was learning to snowboard, I told these guys I was way better than I was. They took me to this crazy black diamond run I wiped out so bad.
Ouch. I bet you learned a lesson there.
I did. Better to be safe than sorry, right? What's the last one? The pitfall to avoid.
This is a big one. Ignoring safety. Adventure sports, they're risky. Gotta put safety first. Always.
Right. It's not about being fearless. It's about being smart. So always listen to the experts. know what you can handle, and don't do anything stupid just to impress someone.
Adventure is about pushing limits, not being reckless. Okay, so we covered a lot. Words, phrases, tips, mistakes. Feeling ready to talk the talk, like a real adventure pro.
I'm definitely feeling more confident. But before we wrap up this deep dive, let's do a little test. Imagine you're recommending an adventure sport to a friend, someone who's never tried it. What would you say?
Remember everything we talked about, the descriptions, the questions, the personal touch.
All right, let's hear it. How would you recommend, an adventure sport to a friend, someone who's totally new to it? Do you make it sound good, like really exciting?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you came up with. It's hard to describe sometimes, But if you find the right words, it can really get someone hooked.
Well, the source material, it gives us pretty basic examples. Something like, hey, you should try kayaking. It's a great way to see rivers and lakes.
Yeah, it's okay. But we can do better, right? Way better.
Oh, for sure. How about this? I've always thought you'd love being out on the water, exploring new places. Have you ever tried, kayaking? Imagine just gliding along a peaceful river, surrounded by trees, just the sounds of birds and your paddle dipping in the water. It's so peaceful, but also invigorating, and you can find all these hidden spots you wouldn't see otherwise.
Okay, now that's a good one. I don't want to try it after hearing that. You really painted a picture there.
Trying to channel my inner nature lover. But it's true. The more you can bring those details to life, make people feel it, the more excited they'll get. So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'm curious, what do you think? Has this changed how you think about, talking about your passions?
Definitely. If we think bigger picture, it's not just about the words, right? It's about connecting with, everything.
It's true. You're ready now not just to do these adventures, but to share them. Tell your stories to people all over the world. You can read articles from other countries, understand those safety talks, even chat with locals when you're, hiking in the Himalayas.
It really makes you think, how can knowing these words, these phrases, make your adventures richer and help you understand other cultures, other ways of seeing things?
Yeah, that's a good question to think about. As you head out on your next adventure, maybe you're climbing a mountain, maybe you're on a whitewater trip, or maybe you're just, chatting with someone at the climbing gym.
The world of adventure sports, it's huge. So much to explore. And if you can speak the language, it opens up everything.
So keep practicing, keep exploring,
Yeah.
and keep that adrenaline going. Until next time, happy adventuring.